Hello, and welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. I am really sorry about the delay. For some reason, my camera decided to take a crap on me. It is actually not the camera itself, but probably the USB cord or something. But my EOS webcam thing was not working, so I had to switch it up to the Cam Link tonight. So if the camera dies halfway through, it just means I have to restart the camera, and you guys will have to deal with not seeing my face for a couple of seconds. But anyways, we got a great show for you tonight. Let's start with some sponsors. Of course, we have Lorenzotti.coffee for all your delicious Italian coffee needs delivered directly to your door. Bring the taste of Italy home. Use BTC at checkout for a 10% discount. And of course, my friend, my partner, the coolest guy you know, toplobster.com for all your wonderful graphic design needs, where you can get this great Don't Hurt People and Don't Take Their Stuff shirt that I'm wearing tonight. Use BTC at checkout for a 10% discount, or you guys can join the Patreon, Subscribe Star, or the membership for the YouTube channel and get into a private Discord server where you will get the new designs up to 2 weeks early at like a 30% discount. That's a huge discount, guys. You have no idea. That's huge. So go do that. And, of course, executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check these people out today. See what they can do for you, your home, or your business. They're doing a wonderful job that the government sucks at historically, much cheaper and much more efficiently. All right. Now we got all that out of the way, and the show is underway and a little bit late. I apologize, guys. I really do. I hope everything looks okay and sounds okay for you guys. The video may be clearer tonight because we're working with a 4K and HDMI instead of the normal 1080p stream that we do. So it may look better. I don't know. But we have a great guest for you guys tonight. I'm very excited. Another guy who didn't big time me on Twitter. I always think I'm going to get big timed by everyone I reach out to, but then I remember the show's growing and it's becoming a good platform, and so hopefully everyone enjoys coming on and hanging out with me. But our guest tonight is a stand-up comedian, podcast host. He was the host of Ginormous Food on Food Network, and he is a professional funny man. He is Josh Denny. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I can't complain, man. I mean, I should complain after all the drama I put you through already, right?
Looking good in 4K, my friend.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, man. It's definitely, I don't know. The video looks different to me. Maybe it looks different to you guys. I don't know. You let me know if so. But anyway, so you do a lot, man. You do a lot.
And yet very little, it seems. Sometimes it feels very little. These days, I just try to do what I'm excited to do or what I feel like doing, and then the rest is, the rest just kind of comes and goes.
Sure, absolutely, man. Well, you're a professed libertarian on Twitter. I sit on the Libertarian National Committee. I don't know if you're aware of that. I'm an at-large.
I'm aware. It's a big deal.
Yeah. 20,000 members. Huge. But we usually start off the show with like the journey. How did you get to these ideals?
I think I never really knew, kind of like growing up or whatever, where my political ideas fell. It wasn't really, I didn't even really become familiar with libertarianism until I started doing stand-up. I was 23, and naturally by kind of falling into stand-up comedy. When you get into stand-up comedy, you immediately are kind of thrust into interacting with people that you might not ever normally interact with on a day-to-day basis. Like, comedy is this thing that unites people who otherwise may have nothing in common. And so when you start talking about political ideologies and stuff, there's a lot of like, oh, well, if you think that, you're not liberal. If you think that, you're not conservative. And so it became pretty evident early on with some of the friends I made in comedy that the label that fit the best was libertarian, in the sense of, really just wanting limited government and wanting, individualism and individual responsibility, and really just for the government to sort of stay out of our personal business. And it's kind of at the time when I started doing stand-up comedy, I was working in corporate America, and it became pretty evident that, the more power that anybody in a position of power has, the more control they have, doesn't necessarily mean that things are better. And I think our government does a good example of proving that, the more power we give them doesn't necessarily mean that they know what the fuck to do with it, or that they necessarily have anyone's best intentions, or best wishes in mind with that power, or with the responsibility that comes with it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you there. That's for sure. And I think, the last year has really been a testament, or the last year and a half now, maybe next 2 years, who knows, has really been a big testament to all that. But I've had some other stand-up comedians, Christy Mayer and Robbie the Fire Bernstein and Dave Smith on the show. And we talked a lot about New York during COVID and being a comedian and trying to do, comedy in New York. But you're a California guy, right? And
yeah, I've been here for the last 11 years or 12 years now. I moved in 2009, so I guess it's 12 years.
Nice. So, what is it? I'm a California boy, born and raised. I'm right outside of Oakland, and I actually took off and left to the middle of the country 5 minutes before they started the lockdowns. Actually, 11:55 I left. They started the lockdowns at midnight last March, and I took off, and I have not looked back. But what has it been like for you? You're Southern California. Stand up, trying to do comedy, trying to hit some gigs. What's it been like?
It's really just it's been pretty chaotic here. I want to say for like a year, I think I maybe did like one spot, from the time things shut down, and I was sick pretty early on. Like, I was one of those people that not necessarily diagnosed with COVID, but pretty sure I had it. The end of 2019 going into 2020, my girlfriend and I were sick for like 10 weeks and had all the COVID symptoms and everything else. And then when we ended up testing positive for it in June, our symptoms were very mild. So we felt like that was a reinfection. But yeah, not doing stand up from like December of 19. I think I did like one thing right before the shutdown in February or March, like after I, was feeling better, and then everything shut down and it just kind of went to sleep. And then, in LA, it came back very briefly here, in June, and we had like, not even a full month of everything being open again before they've already damn near shut everything down.
Yeah, it's ugly, man. And, one can only hope that they're going to recall Gruesome Newsom, man. I hate that guy so bad.
Did you see what I just put on Twitter, like right before we went live?
No, I was watching your show earlier and was like listening to a little bit about what you were saying about it and leaving and stuff.
It blows my mind. I really try not to jump into political Twitter too much. I like to kind of just throw grenades. So like I'll say whatever shit I want to say and let people react however they want to react. But I clicked on a thing. It was about Newsom winning a court ruling that he is allowed to basically, in his summary, which they'll send out with the mail-in ballot stuff, his summary will basically allow him to say that the entire recall election is a extremist right-wing hit job on his position. And they're like, yeah, it's really just like campaigning. So they're essentially allowing him to put propaganda in the voter guide to try to swing votes back his way. And what disgusted me the most about it was when you go in the comments below that, it's so many Los Angeles people that are like, we have to stop these crazy conservatives, these white supremacists from trying to steal our governor position. It's like, dude, the amount of people that just lap up the dog shit is horrific. And it's like, you wonder, like, you look around, you're a California guy, you look around cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles and you go, clearly, regardless of your party affiliation, you got to look around and go, this shit ain't working for anybody. And then you see all of this support and I'm like, what? You have to be millionaires who don't have to live in the real world to think this way, to think that this guy's doing a good job at all is like insane to me.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny because, I grew up going to San Francisco weekly. I worked in San Francisco for a long time. I spent a lot of time there. He's the reason San Francisco is a shithole. He's literally the reason why. The city was great before that. I mean, it was always expensive to live there. My whole life, it's been way too expensive to live in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But now there's heroin needles all over the ground and shits everywhere. Literally, they have a shit map. You can go online and look up on your phone like the San Francisco shit map, and it'll tell you every shit. Like people log the shits and put them on.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it's like Newsom's the reason it's like that. He was the mayor who did that to San Francisco, and instead of beating him up over it or tar and feathering him or whatever you should be doing to this man, we made him the governor of the entire state.
Yeah.
So now we can have a shit map for all of California.
The politicians coming out of California are like the poster children for failing upwards.
Oh, 100%.
In society today. I mean, that's why I laugh when people go, yeah, man, if you don't like California, bro, just fucking leave. And it's like, you do know that the people who ruined California are now a heartbeat away from running the country.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think the word I used on Twitter was evacuated depends full. Not a heartbeat, but they're a one evacuated depends full away from running the country. And, it's these kind of policies are not just going to be in Los Angeles and New York moving forward. I mean, as much as conservatives and libertarians and independents are kind of challenging the status quo, in terms of like smaller political offices and Congress and things like that, you also have insane leftism and socialist candidates that are running for those offices as well. So for every pro Second Amendment libertarian that wins an election, there's also a fucking transgendered Antifa division leader or chapter leader who's also winning a seat. And so it's something that's kind of creeping everywhere. I mean, I don't know where you moved to from California, but the conversation we had on the podcast earlier that I did today was like, where do you go? Where do you go where you feel like these things might never get there? And is there a place in America where, it's not going to be like that for the next 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, I live in one of those places now, but I moved to Iowa. So
yeah.
And it's great. It's actually going the opposite direction here in Iowa.
So we passed each other. I lived in Minneapolis for 11 years before I moved to Los Angeles.
Oh, sure.
And I graduated from high school in southern Minnesota in a town called Austin, which is like right on the Iowa border. So we kind of reversed paths in life. But I'll tell you what, Iowa, great great place, man. Some of my favorite gigs ever were in Iowa.
Yeah, man, it's a lot cool. Like, I moved here for my fiance lives here, and when I came here,
is she made of corn?
Yeah, corn and ranch dressing. She's just
nice.
Yeah, she's one burlap sack full of corn and ranch dressing. No, she's beautiful. She's amazing. Greatest mom I know. I
will tell you this. Iowa, not Iowa State, but University of Iowa campus, the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like you can literally travel around rural Iowa and see nothing. And then you go to like University of Iowa campus and it's like, where are these 10s from?
Other states.
They are all, I was like, they're fucking, it's insane. They're like tan, blonde, fucking perfect, natural, perky, B cup. You're like, where are they making these?
Yeah, mine was made in Mason City, Iowa. So not far from the Minnesota border. She's pretty amazing. Looks like you got some friends here in the chat, Denny. What's going on? They love you, man.
All the time. Yeah.
You got a $5 super chat. Denny's an Uber driver. Is that true? You drive an Uber?
I used to, yeah. Pre-pandemic, I used to. For a lot of years, actually. I was one of the first Uber drivers in LA.
It's funny, when I lived in California, and subsequently, prior to that, I lived in Portland, Oregon for about 7 years, and I did Instacart, man. And there was like months where I'd make $2,500 to $4,000. I mean, it was good money.
It's wild. Yeah. I mean, the thing I kind of like fell in my lap in 2013. I had gotten recruited by this company. I was working for Sean John of all places as a retail director. And I worked for a company called SJ Retail. It was a small LLC. We actually bought the Sean John stores away from P. Diddy. And our goal was to like get them fixed, right the ship, and then flip it to another equity company. We ended up selling it back to P. Diddy, to Sean John himself. But what I was going to say is, as we were selling the company, my boss was like, you should probably get the resume out there. And, cause we're not going to make a ton of money on this deal. And basically meaning I wasn't going to make any money on the deal. So I was like, all right, cool. I started interviewing with other companies. I got recruited to this check cashing company. And, I traded my car in shortly before that. I had like a gas guzzling SUV and I got something like a 4-door sedan that was fuel efficient. And then about 90 days into working for this company, I brought up that they were doing something illegal. And I really brought it up in the sense of like, I don't think you guys know this is illegal to do in California. So like, let me just point it out so we can fix it and not get sued. But it was also something that affected me inside the company as well. And then they fired me and used the fact that I was a comedian as the excuse, as the reason, right? And then, of course, naturally, I was like, no, it's because I blew the whistle on this thing that you're doing that's illegal. So I got a lawyer and filed a lawsuit, but I was unemployed for the first time ever. Like I had never been fired from a job or had ever been without work. And so in California, we have this awesome cap on unemployment. So even if you have a job where you're making $125,000 a year, the most you can get per week in unemployment is $450. Of
course, yeah.
Right. And so I was like, well, that's not going to cut it. So here I am with this 2013 Ford Fusion. And weirdly enough, in the very last business trip I went on in Chicago, the guy I worked with introduced me to Uber. I didn't know what it was. And we had to get back to the airport. He was like, oh, we'll never get a taxi down here at this time of day. Let's call an Uber. And I was like, what's that? So as we're driving to the airport in rush hour Chicago traffic, it's almost like foreshadowing of what's going to happen in my life. This driver's explaining to us how Uber works and how much money he's making and everything else. And so like I got fired like a week later. And was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And then I was like, let me look into this Uber thing. And yeah, man, it was like, oh my God, I can just take this car that I just bought and don't know how I'm going to pay for and actually make money with it. And it was so lucrative as like a side hustle that even when I got my Food Network show in 2016, when I would come home from filming, like we'd be like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. When I would come home, that's funny. That's weird that somebody knows that. Who's the most famous person I drove in an Uber? Kirsten Dunst, actually. And I didn't drive her. I drove somebody from her house. That's fucking straight. I don't even remember that person I don't even remember saying that, but this is how up my ass these trolls are.
Jesus.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, even when I had the show, I was still doing it on my off weeks because I was sure that the show was not going to get picked up, was not going to get renewed. When something like that happens, you're just like, yeah, this is going to end any day now. And we ended up running for 3 seasons. But, TV contracts aren't what they were in the 80s and 90s. I made $4,000 an episode. I made like basically the equivalent of what I would at my job for a year and a half. Just doing the show. So, the side hustle thing is critical. And then that business, I don't know how long into the pandemic you were out here, but when the pandemic started, all of the business of like rideshare went dead. Right. Like nobody was going anywhere. The streets were a ghost town. Like you'd go out to work and I get like one ride an hour. It was insane. So I stopped doing it. I found other ways to make money in addition to the stuff I do comedically. And, it's kind of one of those things. I feel like one of the good things of the pandemic is it's kind of forced people to sink or swim. Right. And so as all these obstacles have arisen for all of us, we either figure out how to tread water, or we drown. And I've been very fortunate to fall into some things. One of them is the new show I'm doing on Censored TV, which is a kind of my primary project right now. And, I started doing a little bit of stand-up, going back to your initial question, a little bit of stand-up March, April, May, getting out and traveling and that type of thing. But when I got back at the end of May, I was just like, I'll wait until everything's all the way open. And now we're going the other direction.
Yeah, it's going the wrong way. Absolutely. Unless you come to the middle of the country, Texas, Florida, or, it's it. It's it. It's really it. The coastal elites are not letting you go outside anymore. They're going to stop you forever.
It's nuts.
They want you at home drinking Mountain Dew, getting fat, and taking your UBI like a good person.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because yeah, where is that UBI, by the way?
Yeah,
I'm all for,
exactly.
where is it? That's the fucking left wing thing. Yeah, I'm all for it. Where is it? Show me the UBI. And no one's done it yet. Isn't that interesting? This magical thing that's going to fix all of our problems, and not a single fucking state has like, we'll pilot it.
Oh, excuse me. They're giving me my my child tax credit early every month right now. So I
Oh,
know,
that's
I know.
almost like a UBI, right?
Well, I have 7 kids. They're giving me $750 a month. I'm like, really? I think my child tax credit's going to be a little bit bigger than that, dude.
No kidding. Oh, my God. Yeah, I'll tell you. Now, this is one area where I kind of diverge from libertarian thinking. Is I'm not opposed to a UBI in replacement of welfare and other systems, and then capped at a certain income level. So, it is kind of weird, like when you get into like political debates with people and they go, oh, you're libertarian, so this is what you think about this, and it's like, yeah, not always, not necessarily.
Yeah, I had a really good conversation. Are you familiar with the Mises Institute at all?
Vaguely.
Yes.
Vaguely.
So I had the president of the Mises Institute on the other night, Jeff Deist, who's fantastic. If you ever get a chance to talk with him or listen to him, he's really amazing. But he was kind of saying he's like, libertarian at this point is policies. There's an ideology behind it, but the ideologies are like anarcho-capitalism and agorism and left, like libertarian socialism or whatever they want to call that. And he said, so when people tell you you're not a real libertarian,
that's popular in LA, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I got a really good friend from LA that's a libertarian socialist named Kevin Shaw, and he might be the only one I know that's a legit libertarian socialist. He's like, no, all these other guys are assholes. I just want to have like my own commune where we all chill and don't like have anybody else like tell us what to do. I was like, well, all right, well that sounds fine with me. You know what I mean? But Jeff said, when people tell you you're not a real libertarian, just say okay and keep going on about your day. What the fuck does it matter?
Yeah. Well, and also it's just like, that's when people used to be like, you're not a real Christian. It's like, well, what defines what a real Christian is or a real Catholic is, right? Because the guys that are supposed to be the closest to it, some of them are molesting kids. So is that real? Or, it's so funny when people get into this sort of holier than thou mindset about your political leanings or your religious leanings. It's like, my feelings about like how I am a libertarian are the same way I feel about how people practice their religion. Like, do it however you feel is best, right? And if you don't think what my views are libertarian, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that.
Sure. Yeah, I spent a long time, especially I ran for national chairman of the party twice, 2018, 2020. And it was like the first campaign, I was so thin-skinned, man. Anytime somebody's like, I'd be like, oh, hi, I got to explain this to you. And then by the second campaign, dealing with libertarians on a daily basis, I was just like, okay, I don't fucking care anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and you guys can keep being assholes. I don't care.
Yeah, libertarians there is this weird contingent of libertarians where they're sort of like actually, of all political discussion. They're very well. Actually, what we should, everybody has this sort of idea that that they've sort of hacked it on all levels, and ultimately, it's just, to me, the best ideas should win out, regardless of where they come from, right? Yeah. And so, in my mind, just from an economic perspective, I think the absolute best economic plan for fixing our economic problems in this country is actually a blend of socialism and capitalism, and almost extreme capitalism, in the sense of you could have a UBI up to a certain income level, and then you could have no income tax up to another high tier, and then you could have a fair consumption tax to offset those costs. That is essentially a voluntary tax where people can buy expensive shit and pay higher taxes on it if they want to. And if they don't want to buy expensive shit or imported shit, and they want to buy domestic stuff and pay a lower tax rate, that's an option too. There's a lot of ways that you can take good ideas from different political parties and come up with the ultimate best system that would potentially work. But unless any of us are sitting at the fucking table looking at the balance sheet for the United States and actually knowing which money we can move around, it's all just theoretical.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's the problem is that the government keeps the good ideas from winning out, right? And I talked a little bit about this. I had Mark Pellegrino on my show last night from Lost and Dexter and some other shows. Really cool guy, by the way. But we talked a little bit about how, the government has this monopoly on ideas really in this country. One way or another, they get to control all the ideas, right? Especially economically and socially. And so, removing that gives us the opportunity to see what ideas could win out. But we still have this big, huge roadblock in the way. So, my camera froze, so I'm going to restart it. But hey, let's talk a little bit about the Food Network. Can we talk about that? Is that okay?
Of course, yeah.
All right. So you landed a show on the prestigious Food Network, which, by the way, I let me tell you, I love the Food Network. I do. I watched Chopped religiously. I watched all this shit all the time.
Same.
Yeah,
same.
It's my grandma's favorite channel, right? And so like I'd go to visit grandma. We'd sit there and watch like the Chopped marathons together. Not say a word. But you landed the show Ginormous Foods, which, I'm a fan of Ginormous Food myself. What happened, man? So I did some reading online, and they said that you got canceled for tweets, but that's not the truth, right? You got canceled like a year prior to all that shit going down, right?
Yeah, the show ended. I mean, essentially, it's weird because there's not really a cancellation with those things. They just don't pick up your next contract period. So sure. You kind of go term to term. And, even we were like in season 2 of the show, and they made the mistake of sending the advertising people out to can you still hear me okay? Yeah. They made the mistake of sending the advertising people out to our set in season 2, and you get a couple of drinks in those guys and grease them, and they tell you what your fucking show is actually making for the network, and you go, oh, I had no idea. And so I called my agents and I was like, listen, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to be coming back and doing this show for the next contract term without renegotiating. I mean, we're doing, we ended up being syndicated, like season 2, we ended up being syndicated in 14 countries. And at that point I had no producer credit and, was making a very small hosting fee by comparison to some of their other shows. But we were like, our show was one of the most successful new show launches they had in a long time. And it was literally like the second I started, even before we started talking money, and I just said, hey, I'm basically writing the show on the fly. I should at least be getting some creative producer credit for the creative side of the show. And the second I started having those conversations with people at the network, the entire attitude just changed towards me, towards the show. And, that's what's interesting is you start throwing out numbers. You go, hey, I know the show is making this amount of money per episode in advertising. I know what the syndication deals have made going into foreign markets. I mean, this is a show that, for all intents and purposes, has made over $100 million plus. And I've made, at this time we had done half of season 2 and season 1. So I made like $50,000 hosting a show that at that point made, 9 figures for the network. And I was like, and the other thing that kind of pissed me off, and this is just me being fully transparent, at the time, right after my show happened, 2 other of my agent's clients got deals for shows. One of them was Jeff Dunham, and Jeff Dunham basically like paid for my entertainment lawyer's entire, he's like his meal ticket. He's got his fucking puppets up in the office. And I was like, oh shit. When I met with my lawyer before my agent, cause I didn't have an agent. I just scrambled to get an entertainment lawyer to do my contract. Cause I was like, man, I don't want to get fucked. And then he told me, you're definitely going to get fucked. We're just going to try to make sure we get you as much lube as possible on this first go around. Yeah. But I went into his office to meet him. And I was like, oh, man, that's right. You rep Jeff Dunham. You got like his puppets around the fucking office. And he could tell I was being kind of snarky. And he goes, Jeff Dunham basically paid for my house. Like having him as a client is why I have a lovely home in the valley with a wife and 2 children like that. Thanks to those fucking puppets. Right. And so but anyway, he had done Jeff's deal and he had done my agents who I ended up signing with at UTA had done Hannah Hart's deal. And neither of those shows were hitting anywhere near the numbers our show was doing. And they both made about 5 times per episode what I was making. And so I was like, okay, I get it. Hannah had a massive YouTube channel when they signed her. Jeff is a megastar. I get it. But I was like, give me something. I got to come back. You got to give me some side of the production, some piece of ownership in the show, or you just got to raise my hosting fee. And they weren't willing to do any of it. And on top of that, they started bitching at me about what I was putting on the internet and, stand up and that type of stuff. And they were, they had the head of my production company, the guy who owned it, guy named Zach, come out and take me to lunch in Santa Monica. And it was weird because I was like, I don't ever talk to Zach. My producer was his partner named Libby, and I worked with her on everything. I would talk to Zach once a season. When we would get picked up, he would call me and be like, congratulations, another season. This is great. But he wanted to come out and sit me down and have a conversation. And it was one of those conversations where you're kind of like shell shocked. And then I walked away from it. And I was like, oh, he just tried to talk me into quitting stand-up to do the show. Like, so obviously the network talked to him and was like, we need to get him to stop being a comedian if he's going to keep doing this family-friendly show for us. Meanwhile, all the shit I said on Twitter and on the internet and as a stand-up, I had been doing long before they came along and hired me to do this show. So it was like, what do you have, buyer's remorse now? Like, I'm not any different than the guy you hired in 2016. The difference is now there's a lot of fucking money on the line, and you're scared that me being myself might be a problem for the network, right?
Right.
And so that's really what it boiled down to. And we had a couple of intense conversations. I mean, one of which where I was on with the president of the network, and they were like, well, maybe if we scrub some of this from your Twitter, and maybe if we look at pulling down some podcast episodes. And I go, listen, man, we'll delete it all. Cut me a check for fucking $20 million. You can have me for the next 10 years.
Right.
I was like, I'll suck people's dicks on Chopped every day. And you can film it. I can be one of the mystery basket items. I don't give a shit.
Like the chopped fluffer. Give you the chopped fluffer.
Yeah,
try to get the anxiety out.
Listen, I'll carry Bobby Flay's ball bag around for the next 10 years for 20. If you want me to sell out, cut me a check.
Yeah.
And and like there was a combination of people giggling and people not being fucking not liking it at all on the call. And I will say this, my showrunner at the network, a dude named Steven Lerner, was fucking awesome. He was like exactly what you imagine old school New York, like entertainment industry Jews to be like. He would literally like walk in. He'd walk into a dinner. We'd have a dinner at the beginning of production at a season, and we would all meet in like New York where Food Network was based. And we do like a season pre-production thing, and we go to the network offices, and then we would sit at dinner. And Steven would walk in and he goes, listen, I got 30 fucking minutes and then I got an isolation tank appointment. Like, let's get it moving. It's like this weird, eccentric. When I met him, he was in a fucking hammock suspended between two cubicles that were no longer in use. And I almost pictured in my mind that he was like, what do these two people do here? And they were like, oh, she's in accounting and she's in social media. He's like, you're both fucking fired, because he wanted to put his hammock up in the office. I mean, it's just he was like, but also the most fun fucking guy on that show. And he was like my confidant. Anytime I was frustrated with the network, that's who I would talk to. And he'd be like, listen, your first show, you're always going to take the fucking bloodbath. You got just play ball with us on this one. We'll get you something that's more your speed and we'll keep working with you. And, I genuinely felt like he wanted it to work and he wanted to make shit go. And I think at the end of the day, he got overruled. Yeah. And he was also the last male executive in the entire upper chain. Like, it was all women and then this one dude. And so he was already had the bullseye on him for being like the last guy in a position of power at the network.
That's crazy.
But he was like the show whisperer. He was the guy who basically discovered the Property Brothers and like launched HGTV to being one of the big networks. And so they kind of like had to deal with him because he'd had so many hits.
Sure. We got a super chat from my friend Rogue Liberty podcast. By the way, if you like British people, check out Rogue Liberty's podcast. He's really good. He says, how many times have you been canceled from Food Network by triggered white women on Twitter?
People ask me, they go, why do you leave that in your bio? That's exactly why I leave it in my bio. It's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what it is. It's always the chalk roaches, as I like to call them. They're always the virtue signalers that are pissed off about what you said online. My autofocus box is on, by the way, guys. I'm going to fix it next time Josh goes on a rant. I promise. That's why I'm trying to get up and do that because you go full screen when I'm not talking. And so I was like, oh, just keep rolling. I'm going to fix it. But
is it next time I go on a rant? All right, I'll shut the fuck up then.
No, Jesus, I like the rants. That's the important part of the show. I'm not smart, right? So I have this show where I bring people on that are smart or funny or interesting or they do something in culture, and I just sit here and listen, man. You know what I mean?
It's a good gig. It's a good gig if you could do it.
That's how you do it, man. We thank you for the super chat, Derek Slide. I appreciate $5 super chat. So what's it like? Okay, so here's the thing. You're pretty conservative leaning libertarian on a lot of stuff. Definitely the cultural social justice woke warriors wouldn't like you, right?
No. that might be the safest thing you'll say on this podcast.
Yeah. So how has it been being that style of comedian and living in California? I mean, has that been really, really hard for you?
Not really. And I'll say this, the people, like audience members that come to shows don't really care about that shit. And this is like a common thing. You hear people like, oh, can you even do comedy anymore with how uptight everybody is? I mean, those uptight Karens and shit are not coming to live stand-up shows. They're just not there. But I will say this, the somewhat difficult part has been that, when I moved to LA and started doing stand-up here in 2009, you make friends along the way. And a lot of the people that I was very friendly with early in my time in Los Angeles doing stand-up, all the way up until a few years ago, basically until about 2016, most of those people I don't talk to anymore. And it's because we are so opposed in the way we view, not just comedy, but the world. I mean, those two things are kind of synonymous. So, it's like a lot of them have really gone the other direction where, I have friends. It's so funny to me. Like I have friends who I have a nothing fucking fan base, right? And I don't say that to be demeaning to the people that like me and follow me, but in terms of numbers, like it's a very moderate, fun fan base, right? There are people with 1/10 of the fan base that I have who find themselves, or I find them saying things like, with the platform that I have, the responsibility of making sure that I'm on the right side of history is important to me. And it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Like the overblown sense of self-importance that so many of these people fucking have, to where they're like, if I don't change and I don't have the right views, that's not just bad for me, it's bad for the world. It's just such a weird, it's such a weird sort of delusion of grandeur that what you think is so important to so many people you've never met. And my views never really change, but so many of the people around me have. I mean, and there are people that I was like, comedians that I was friends with in Los Angeles that have gone through such drastic transitions, and some of them actual gender transitions, to where it's like we can't even. There's not even like a common ground to have a discussion anymore.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Who's some of your favorite people that you worked with? I mean, in comedy, have you worked with a lot of stand-up comedians?
Do you mean like done shows with?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of them. I mean, the guys I like the most are often not necessarily guys I would end up on lineups with, but I'd say one of my favorite memories in comedy, and one of the more recent ones, sort of before the pandemic, I did a show at the Comedy Store, was one of Sam Tripoli's Comedy Chaos shows, and I got to be on the lineup with Rogan and Ron White. There was a moment backstage where I was trying to figure out a bit, and I was talking to my buddy Sam Tripoli. It was his show that he books, and I was like, man, I can't get this bit right. And just out of our peripheral, like walking kind of their conversation over to our conversation, was Joe and Ron White starts helping me workshop the bit. Like right there, he's like, have you thought about moving this part to that part? And what if you lead with this? And I was just like, oh yeah, no, that's cool. And then it wasn't until I got in the car and was driving home, I was like, holy shit, if you would have told 15-year-old me that someday you're going to be a comedian and fucking Ron White is going to help you with a joke in the back of the Comedy Store, you would never believe that. And so, like, you know, with all the ups and downs in my career, those memories are the things to me that are priceless, of like, you know, to even fathom being a kid in, you know, Austin, Minnesota, you know, at that point in my life, never really seriously considering the idea that I could be a stand-up comedian. And then to fast forward all these many years forward, being sharing stages with some of these big guys and getting to meet them, and then, you know, them taking an interest in you enough to work on your shit with you for 2 minutes. You know, comedy has this sort of brotherhood that no other parts of entertainment have. Like with musicians and actors, it's so fucking competitive that you put two of them in the same room, two bands or two actors, they're all trying to figure out how to fuck each other over. And with comedy, it's not really like that. It's a lot more of like we're all in the trenches trying to figure this shit out together. And, you know, those are the cool things. So I would say, you know, that memory, it's hard to say like that the guys I perform with are necessarily my favorites. And that's changed too. Like some of the people I loved when I first started, like guys like David Cross. It's like David Cross just blocked me on Twitter last week. So it's like there's the other end of the spectrum too, of like people that I came up loving before I met them or got to know them in any way, shape, or form, now hate me because of a political ideology. And these are people I've never met. And, you know, Gavin McInnes and I have had conversations about that a lot, of like, you know, there's this weird thing that people on the left have where they want to make you feel embarrassed for being yourself because of the way you think about the world. And that's a person who's willing to do that to you was never your fucking friend. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with. He went through that with David Cross. They were friends at one point, and, you know, there was just like a moment where they had to separate because, you know, you have different political ideologies, and like the idea of your guy friends divorcing you is just really fucking gay. You know, like if one of my guy friends ever, and by the way, none of them have, because the ones who do this don't have the fucking balls to do it. But if one of them ever called me and was like, I have to disassociate with you because, you know, you're kind of in this place and I'm in this place, I'd be like, yo, that's the gayest shit anyone's ever fucking said to me. And I've had to call people out that have done it not to my face. Like I went through a thing back and forth, with a dude named Jeff May, who was a comic I kind of started with here in LA, and kind of helped out a lot in his career. I got him the same entertainment lawyer that I got to work on a deal for a show that he had that never necessarily materialized. But it was like, dude, I did a lot of this shit to help you in your career. And now, he left a comment on somebody's thing on fucking Twitter where he was like, yeah, my relationship with Josh Denny is the biggest regret of my career. I was like, geez. Jesus Christ. Like, again, like, you know, it sounds kind of hacked to use the word fag as much as I find myself doing these days, but it's the only thing appropriate for this behavior.
Yeah. Or retarded. That works too.
Retarded works too. Yeah. Retarded works too. I don't know though, man. Like, at least retards, for the most part, in my experience, have principles.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yeah, that's very true. We got a bunch of super chats, and funny. Top Lobster, he's the guy who does all the art for the show. He's the one who did your thumbnail and stuff. He makes a very astute observation. He says Denny's trolls aren't nearly as rabid as Borisenko. So I had Borisenko on the show, and she's a proponent of ending critical race theory, but she gets mad if you say that it's an anti-white program. And she's got like all these people who just went nuts in my show. I had people were dropping N-bombs in there and stuff. And I was like, holy crap. They're definitely not as rabid. But
Borisenko I've had her on my show as well. And she is first of all, lovely chick. But I will say, like, she triggers something in people that is one of those. It's also probably why she's had the fucking rapid growth and success that she's had, because she just like sticks people in a certain way, man. And she is a very like anytime I've seen her on people's shows, it's like a very love-hate reaction to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people in the chat are talking about the tracking on my face. Yeah, guys. So unfortunately, for some reason, I usually use it's like a Canon EOS webcam app that you can use so that you have clean HDMI from my DSLR, and for some reason that's not working tonight. So I had to use the Cam Link 4K, which does not give you clean HDMI, and if you can get it clean, but then you don't have autofocus, and I'll be very blurry. So I just took that off, and you guys are gonna have to deal with the tracking. Sorry.
Welcome to the sharper image.
Yeah, that's where we're at. But yeah, you got some super chats here. PK $5 super chat said, "Could you pretty please ask Denny about a plane crash he was in?" Is that?
This is an amazing thing that the trolls, like every show that I go on, they jump in the chat and they're like, the plane crash. The story is very boring. The story is as simple as this. Like, and I'll start by asking you a question. Do you have, or have you ever had one of those friends that's like a fucking know-it-all about everything?
Oh, so many.
Several. Yeah, well, you're a libertarian. It's probably the half of the party or more, right? Yeah, so one of the comedians that I met very early on out here had a pretty big podcast at the time, and I was a regular co-host on his show. We were traveling to New York together one time, and we were talking about gear up landings. So, and I don't know if you're familiar with the phrasing, but a gear up landing is basically like a modified crash landing that a plane does if the landing gear freezes or doesn't open or close. And I had seen one when we were in Philadelphia. Like, my flight had to be delayed because they were trying to figure out what to do with this plane, and we landed like an hour late. And this flight had been circling, trying to get their landing gear unfrozen, and then they couldn't. They ended up having to do what was called a gear up landing. And so I'm having a conversation with this dude, another stand-up comic, about the technical shit that goes on with a gear up landing. And it was like, no matter what shit I gave him, he was like not hearing it. And I was like, dude, I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. And he goes, oh, like you were fucking in one? And I go, yeah, what if I was? And he's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, if you were in one, so it was like this cunty back and forth that we had. Now, on the flip side of that, one of the real conversations we had was about, fast forward, we had a conversation about why I didn't tell people the nature of why I don't drink. And he was very butthurt that I let him believe, and let a lot of people believe, and keep in mind, I'm like in my mid-20s at this time, that I didn't drink because I had issues with it, or I had problems with it, or whatever else it was. Because quite frankly, when you tell people you don't drink because you don't want to, they get fucking weird about it. And so it was one of those things where when you're a comedian and you don't drink, people just assume that you are in recovery, or you had a problem with it, or you stopped because you were fucking partying too hard. And I just let people believe that. And so he was really hurt. He was like, you fucking led me to believe that you were this person that you weren't. And then shoehorned the ball busting conversation of the gear up landing into that. And he was like, oh, so you lied about this, and you lied about being in a plane crash. It's like, nobody fucking said they were in a plane crash, dude. But yeah, so like we went back and forth with shit on the podcast, and you go through those. One of the things I remember about going through that, because people clip shit out of the podcast and then they edit it to try to make it look different than it was. But I remember at the time there were two very distinct things. One, I didn't want to get into a whole thing about this dude's insufferable fuckface personality on his show, because when you're a guest on somebody's show, you don't necessarily want to air all their dirty laundry in front of their fans. It'd be like if I knew something very personal about you and we got into an argument and I started revealing a bunch of personal shit on the show to try to leverage the argument, right?
That has happened to me, lot of times by the way.
Has it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the funny thing is, and he knew that there would be times where we would get into arguments on the show where he knew that I wouldn't air his shit out, so he would just fucking hammer me. And there were times where I'd be like, all right, dude, I'm just going to shut down. I'm not going to go back at you because there's no way for me to win this on your turf. And then we would get into these all out fucking wars off air where I would be like, yo, dude, like you're a shitty person. You have a shitty fucking attitude about life. And he and I aren't friends anymore. We haven't spoken in 7 years, something like this. But yeah, so it was like a very sort of personal interaction that ultimately should have been entirely private between he and I. And the fans of his show have just continued to follow me throughout my entire career. And that sort of sticks in their side. Like that for them, it was like it was like eating the fucking apple. This idea that in this debate about fucking gear up landings, that I, had to go to the length of embellishing my interaction with it to get him to shut the fuck up and listen to somebody else, And then it becomes this kind of, now it's almost like a memed troll thing that everyone does when they come into chats on other shows that I do. So, it's not that interesting a story, but it also tells you like how fucking desperate these people are to have a thing to try to get you with. And the reality is like, I've had to make peace with it, because what it is like, I'm so open about the shit that happens in my life, embarrassing, good, or otherwise, that there's not a lot hanging there. Like there's not a lot to get me on. And so these guys really have to fucking reach to find, things to try to get me with,
Boy, do I know how that feels, man. Trust me. When I was running for chair of the party, and they just pulled out everything they can, and I'm like, you know how public I am about all my shit? Like, you're not hurting my feelings literally at all. But
yeah, when I got fired from another job for comedy in 2019, dude, my girlfriend and I, like, we were in really fucking rough shape financially. We did a GoFundMe. We had to like raise money to make sure we didn't lose everything. And it was a hard time. And so it's like, to me, when you've had to share publicly the most embarrassing, depressing, hard times of your fucking life, what is there left? And it is a weird thing. It's a very like sort of liberating experience to go through, because when you are that low and you're that low publicly and you can survive it, then nothing feels so sacred or so, fragile anymore.
Sure.
And so I think people that don't like me don't like that the most, is that I'm so fucking open about things, good or bad or failure or otherwise, that it's like when you're so forthcoming about your shortcomings or the things that you're unhappy with in your life or the things you're trying to change or the things you're trying to work on, they have to go to the lowest levels and scrape the tiniest fucking things to try to find something to get under your skin. And it's just like, you can't get under my skin, man. I'm a fucking alligator. I've been through it all, man.
I got diamond skin and hands. Buy crypto. But hey, your trolls pay, man. They're super chatting like crazy.
Yeah, listen. Dude. This is what's amazing to me, is they're giving you money so that I have to see what they're typing. And it's, it's all the same boring shit. They don't have anything new going on. And these are people completely uninformed. Like, I see one dude going, lied about why Ginormous Food was canceled. Ratings tanked early in season 2. That's inaccurate. Tanked further in season 3. That's true, but that was contrived by the network. Had nothing to do with Josh asking for 2. You don't know. Like, you have no fucking idea. These people just don't know anything. Check the Nielsen data. The Nielsen data supports what I say.
I don't know what that is.
It's just
by the way, the
Nielsen data is television ratings data, and they go that the ratings didn't tank in season 2. The ratings were great. Part of the reason why the ratings tanked in season 3 was because they moved us to a different network, and some of that was a little bit of strategy on their part of trying to lower the value of the show to fuck me over in negotiations. So, that's what I think is funny, is like people talk about their opinions of what they're perceiving from the outside in like they're facts, and they're not. These are losers that fucking watch me through podcasts and think they fucking know what the intimate inner dealings are of my life and my business. You don't know shit. You do know everything because you have your head so far up my ass.
I do appreciate you guys taking care of Break the Cycle, though.
Thanks for the $10, Xander. Thanks, buddy.
You guys are killing it. You're helping out my family of 9. Thank you. 7 kids, 2 babies. Shit is crazy.
Do you really have 7 kids? Because I'll stay on this fucking podcast for the next 24 hours and raise money for them.
Bro, literally.
I have no problem doing that.
So here, I've told the story on the podcast.
If these guys want to try to empty, if they want to empty their bank accounts for your betterment to attempt to get under my skin. Let's do it. Let's see how far we can go.
Well, yeah. So I've told the story on my show quite a few times. Last March, before I moved to Iowa, I was a bachelor living with my best friend in a 3-bedroom tract house outside of Oakland, California. And a year and a half later, my fiance and 7 children. One of them's actually my granddaughter. But the story is that my fiance had 2 kids already. When I came out here originally, I was just going to quarantine for the 15 days to flatten the curve. We found out later that wasn't going to happen. But she got pregnant. There is still so she got pregnant in April. And then, so we had the baby on the way, and then I got custody of my 16-year-old daughter who didn't live with us or with me. And she had 2 siblings from my ex-wife that were going to go to foster care, but we were able to also get custody of them to keep them out of the state's hands. We had my son New Year's Eve, that made 6. And when we went down to Arkansas to pick up my daughter and her 2 siblings, she was pregnant. We found out she was 15 years old and pregnant. So she had my first granddaughter in March. And so we have 7 kids in the house, 2 babies. It is wild, man. It is absolutely wild. So yeah, man,
this is why you're in what appears to be a fucking basement hidden away from the chaos.
This is literally my basement, dude. This is literally my basement, 100%. Yeah,
you look like you're barricaded in for the end of the world.
And it's so funny because like right behind the screen that you're on and all the lights and shit, it's like Barbie dream houses and dinosaur toys, and it's a mess, man. It's a lot.
You know what's funny is around this wall, my house too, and I don't even have kids.
Nice. I gotta give a huge shout out to Lucky Charms, who came on the show last night while I had Mark Pellegrino on and dropped like $300 in super chats, and then came in tonight and dropped another $50. Like, thank you so much.
Nice.
No idea how much that means to me. I don't know who you are, but please message me on Twitter or something so I can like get you a Break the Cycle shirt or some kind of cool shit. Outlaw Barber dropped a $2 super chat, said, when are you coming to Oklahoma for a show? That's what he wants to know.
Yeah, I don't know yet. That's the answer. I'm trying to figure out how I want to do shows moving forward. And ultimately, now that the comedy clubs are on this trend of like, we're going to demand everybody be vaccinated too. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but I do like the idea of doing like really intimate, 30 to 50 seat venues, and bringing a couple comics along. And if we sell something out, we can always just add second shows, but I would almost rather do like bar and restaurants than, and that's what I did early in my career. Like when I first started doing stand up on the road in 2008, it was like all bars. It was all one-nighters and bars. And, back then, in 2008, a year into comedy, I was making, 300 a show to 600 a show and doing like 6 shows over 7 nights, making great fucking money.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like the clubs don't even pay that money when they have you come out and do an entire weekend. They're not trying not to pay you that much per show. So I don't know, like I'd rather do intimate venues, sell our own tickets, not have to deal with any of the nonsense, and do them in markets where I think people really, kind of get or have an appreciation for the kind of stuff we want to do. So one of my good buddies is comedian Ty Rivera out of Las Vegas, and he's an anomaly all unto himself. He's a gay Mexican Trump supporting comedian who does a ton of a lot of the gigs he does is kind of like, he prides himself on doing the redneck bars of America, and he's a really fun guy and really funny. And that's somebody I'd love to hit the road with and do stuff with. Chrissy Mayer and I have talked about trying to do some stuff together. I mean, I love her to death. She's great. So yeah, it's really just eventually I'll get to all these places. It's just figuring out how and when. And in the meantime, I'm trying to be really hyper focused on the new show I'm doing for Censored. And that's taking up a lot of my creative energy at the moment. And, that's kind of what my focus is at. And there's really no rush for me to get out and do live shows at the moment because, there's so many variables of unknowns of like, travel. I've seen things where they're talking about like mandating vaccine passes for airline travel, like trying to do it federally. I mean, when the president of the United States comes out and says, I'm checking with the Justice Department to see just how far we can force vaccinations, you kind of got to be like, holy shit. Like, did we ever think it would get to this level?
No. I mean, well, I talked about it last year. They're going to end up having some kind of vaccine, and there's going to be some kind of passport system to keep us from participating in society. Of course, Facebook kicked me off for saying that kind of shit. Now it's true. It's no longer conspiracy.
Isn't that dude? I've pretty much just killed I have no interest in Facebook anymore. To me, it's just a fucking dead platform.
Yeah, I just recently got back on.
There are a lot of people that make a lot of money on Facebook, but it's just not that every time I try to put any effort into Facebook, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, I just recently started a new Facebook account after I've been kicked off since October. I tried to start 2 more, and they immediately kicked me off within 6 hours of starting them. And it was because I said the Wu flu was was probably let out of a lab in China, and now
which has now been proven to be true.
Yeah, which is now the proven approved narrative. So now they let me back on. Almost a half a year later or whatever, over a half a year later, and whatever it is.
This is how fucked Facebook is, and this is why I have such a shit relationship with them. Facebook took a video of mine that I posted and suggested that I run an ad with that video. Like, when you post a video, they're like, here's what a promoted post with this video would look like. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I had these live shows coming up in New York, and I was like, hey, let me try this. Let me see if I can if the video gets more of a response than promoting the event. Like, let me see if I try that. Like, good recommendation, Facebook. Your business development shit worked, and I saw your promotion for my promotion, and I'm going to try it. And then I literally fucking, at their recommendation, created an ad campaign around one of my short stand-up videos, and they took down my ads account because my video violated their content policies against hate speech.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm like, so you mean to tell me that your automation recommended an advertisement campaign to me, and then your automation told you that the very video you recommended I promote with money be removed for hate speech? And it's just because the video was titled White Privilege. And there's nothing in the video that's really offensive. The bit itself isn't offensive in any way, shape, or form. And so, I literally had to fight tooth and nail to get my Facebook ads account back, and it took 3 months. And by the time it was done, I was like, do I even care about this?
What's the point?
Yeah, it's like, what am I even doing this?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. And I'm worried for the day when YouTube does the same to me, because it has become such an amazing, invaluable second revenue stream for my family. But at any time, YouTube can be like, we don't like what you say, fuck your family, and there you go. And that's how it goes. And thankfully, I have great patrons and subscribe stars, and all my content gets directly uploaded to Odyssey. It's synced there, so I won't lose my content. I'll just lose the platform and have to find a new platform. But yeah, man. Shout out to Marshall Forward for dropping a $10 super chat, man. That's really cool, you guys. Thank you. And my fiance Julia Annalise, I love you, sweetie. She dropped a $2 super chat and said, the kids are ready for me to read.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah,
you've been summoned.
Well, your trolls got her all up in arms in the chat, because they were asking you when you're going to marry your long time girlfriend, and my fiance immediately starts going, oh yeah, good question for both Joshes. Who, huh? And I'm like, great, thanks, guys.
Oh shit, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for my quagmire to walk you right into yours. Well, I'll speak on behalf of both of us, if you don't mind now. Get you into total hot water.
No,
listen, I don't know, man. It's such a weird, I have a very libertarian answer of we don't have any significant assets to protect from the government. And until that happens, until we acquire land or property, there's really no point in, making our union legal in that sense. She's the beneficiary of all my insurances and stuff like that. You can do all that without being married. So there's really not a point to it. We don't desire to have a party to force our friends to come to and give us money. So, that's really the short reason. We don't have kids. We're not going to have kids. We've been together for and we can get into it. This is a whole other fucking point of discussion, but my philosophy about monogamy is like people should be together as long as they want to be together. And the second that they don't want to be together, like the other person should feel like they're free to leave. And I think marriage complicates that. And 7 children definitely complicates that. So my answer is probably not your answer, but but I mean, for me, it's just like, I would never want somebody to feel like they're stuck with me. And if that were to make her feel that way, I would never want her to feel that way on my end.
Fair enough, sir. Well, we're definitely at the end of the public stream here. I didn't talk to you. I do a private members only stream between 15 to 30 minutes.
Do we have to take off our gear for this?
Yeah,
one?
that's where we go to. It's called After Hours, and we got a couch and everything, so it's gonna be really nice. No, but listen here. We keep calling them trolls, but man, you guys are my fans now. So make sure you hit that subscribe.
Right,
make sure you hit that subscribe button. That's how you help the algorithm. Hit the thumbs up. But also, you can become a member of this YouTube channel for $6 a month. And you get to see an after-hours show with every single guest between 10 to 30 minutes or so, where we talk about the juicy, controversial stuff. So maybe if you make it into that members-only private stream, we'll address some stuff there. But Josh,